Every story ever told begins with a breath, and every life ever lived begins with light. Yet within that same light moves a shadow, gentle, constant, and ancient. It is not a shadow of evil or despair, but one of mystery, quietly reminding humanity that existence is both fragile and eternal. Across every age, hearts have wondered what lies beyond the final heartbeat, what happens when silence replaces breath. The answer, whispered through time, has always been guarded by one being, the angel of death, God's most faithful and misunderstood messenger. From the moment life begins, his watch begins as well, not to steal or destroy, but to guard the sacred balance that sustains creation. He walks unseen through every city, every desert, every mountain, and every home, unseen yet near, patient yet certain. His purpose is not to punish, but to fulfill, to carry each soul when its journey on earth is complete. Though his presence often stirs fear, he does not bring darkness. He carries light to those ready to return to their Creator. Death, as humanity calls it, is not an end in the divine language. It is a homecoming. Throughout centuries, mankind has spoken his name in whispers. Some called him cruel, others called him just. Poets have painted him as a cold figure with a scythe, while prophets described him as a radiant being clothed in solemn majesty. Yet behind all these images lies one truth. He is not the enemy of life, but its servant. He comes only when commanded, and when he comes with purpose. Every breath that fills the lungs, every heartbeat that echoes in the chest, moves closer to the moment when he will appear, not to bring fear, but to fulfill divine mercy. Imagine standing at dusk by the ocean, watching the last traces of sunlight fade beneath the horizon. The beauty of that moment is not in the ending of day, but in the promise of dawn that follows. The same is true of death. The angel of death stands at that horizon, where life meets eternity, guiding souls beyond the setting sun. He does not speak, yet his silence is filled with meaning. He does not touch without permission, yet when he reaches out, even fear bows before the peace that follows. For those who live with faith, his presence is not terror, but comfort. They see beyond the veil and recognize him not as a destroyer, but as a guide sent from heaven. His wings, unseen by mortal eyes, carry the essence of divine promise. He reminds each soul that every moment of life is a gift, and that death is not the loss of that gift, but its fulfillment. To understand him is to understand that every ending written by God is also a beginning unseen. If these words awaken reflection in your heart, if they remind you of the divine beauty woven through both life and death, consider staying on this journey. Subscribe to the channel, like this video if you enjoy these messages, and leave a comment below to share your thoughts. Your voice helps others find comfort, and your support allows these stories of faith and hope to reach hearts that need them most. Before time was measured, before creation unfolded its first light, a command was spoken in the language of eternity. Within that sacred command, destinies were formed, and roles were written for every being that would serve the divine order. Among the countless angels born of that moment, one was chosen for a task that no other desired, yet none questioned. The angel of death emerged from the breath of divine will, not as a curse upon creation, but as an instrument of balance. His purpose was not destruction, but obedience, to walk the path between worlds and fulfill the most solemn of all decrees. From the first instant of his being, he understood that his existence would dwell in silence, far from celebration, yet near to every living soul. Creation flourished with harmony as stars found their places and oceans met their boundaries. Each angel rejoiced in their purpose, singing praises that echoed through endless realms. Among them, the angel of death stood apart, not out of pride, but by divine appointment. While others bore messages of life, hope, and renewal, He carried the seal of conclusion, the moment when divine timing called all things back to their source. His duty was not lighter or heavier than any other, yet it demanded a depth of surrender few could fathom. To carry the weight of every ending, to walk unseen through the sorrow of mankind, and still remain pure in heart, such was the burden placed upon him by the Almighty's hand. Long before humanity came into being, the heavens bore witness to the conversation that defined his role. The Almighty spoke of a time when all creation would need a guardian of transition, one who would ensure that nothing remained out of order, that no soul wandered lost between realms. The angel bowed without hesitation, accepting what was beyond question. From that moment, he became both feared and revered, a bridge between what breathes and what is eternal. His existence was not born from wrath, but from mercy, the mercy that allows every soul to return when its purpose is fulfilled. Through ages uncounted, he learned to walk in stillness. His presence was never to disrupt, only to fulfill. Each time a world ended or a life ceased, he felt the ripple of creation shifting in quiet harmony. No death escaped his awareness, no cry went unheard. Yet he did not act from his own will. Every movement, every gesture came from divine command. His obedience was perfect, his loyalty unshaken. Within him resided neither pride nor sorrow, for his heart was shaped entirely by the will of God. Still, even in that purity, he understood the weight of what he carried, the final moment that every living being would face. When the first human drew breath, he stood nearby, unseen but watchful. He saw the miracle of life ignite within fragile flesh, and knew one day he would return to claim that same life for eternity. Not out of malice, but out of love for divine order. His task would remind humanity of its sacred dependence on the Creator, that life was never truly owned, only entrusted. Every soul he would one day guide had been formed by the same hands that shaped him, and for that reason, his duty was never one of cruelty, but of reverence. Many angels wondered at the gravity of his mission, for his work would bring him closer to humanity's pain than any other celestial being. Yet he did not waver. He understood that in the grand tapestry of divine will, his thread, though dark in hue, was essential to the harmony of all things. Without endings, creation would stagnate. Without death, life would lose its holiness. His obedience ensured that everything created by God remained in motion, that renewal could only be born when the old had been gently laid to rest. Through every generation, as people learned to love, to build, and to hope, he walked quietly beside them. He saw their prayers rise, their tears fall, their hearts break under the weight of loss. Though they cursed his name, though they feared his coming, he never strayed from his path. He knew that what they saw as loss, heaven saw as restoration. Every soul he carried was placed into divine hands, returned to its origin with tenderness beyond comprehension. When the world trembles with war, when sickness sweeps through nations, when the silent passing of one goes unnoticed by many, he remains faithful to his calling. His hand moves not by chance, but by decree. He does not choose the young over the old, nor the weak over the strong. Every moment is appointed, every transition written. The weight of that knowledge does not burden him, for he serves in perfect trust. To question would be to rebel, and rebellion is not in his nature. The angel of death was not made to destroy, but to fulfill the design of eternity itself. In the stillness between heartbeats, he listens for the divine whisper that signals another departure. When it comes, he moves as gently as the turning of the tide, unseen yet near, carrying out the command spoken before the world began. His existence is the silent affirmation that life is precious because it ends, and that every end opens the way to divine continuation. Though he walks in shadows, his purpose shines with eternal light. When the final breath trembles upon the lips, the world seems to fade into a silence beyond comprehension. At that instant, unseen to mortal eyes, the veil between the temporal and the eternal begins to lift. The angel of death stands near, calm and resolute, his presence neither violent nor cold, but imbued with a holiness that silences all resistance. The moment a soul is called, time loses meaning. The air seems to still, and everything that once mattered grows distant. In that sacred pause between the last heartbeat and the first breath of eternity, the angel begins his most delicate task. Light and shadow often meet in that threshold, weaving around the departing soul like threads of divine artistry. To some, the light is gentle, welcoming, filled with warmth beyond earthly words. To others, it feels like truth unveiled, a radiance that reveals every intention, every deed, every hidden thought. The angel of death does not speak, yet his presence commands reverence. He is neither judge nor comforter, but the messenger who ensures that no soul is lost in its crossing. Those who have lived in love and faith feel his touch as peace. Those who have turned from truth sense it as the weight of divine justice drawing near. When a soul rises from the body, it often hesitates, looking upon what it once called home. The angel stands beside it, patient, allowing the human heart to understand what has occurred. No word is spoken, yet the soul feels the truth deeply. It no longer belongs to the world it once walked. He does not rush the moment, for divine timing governs even the release of a single soul. Every departure is unique, shaped by the life that preceded it. Some souls ascend in serenity, others tremble in confusion, yet all are met with the same sacred care. In certain moments, the angel is not alone. Angels of mercy descend like soft flame, surrounding the righteous in radiance that eases the passage. They sing in silence, their presence felt rather than heard, guiding the soul upward in joy. For those who have turned away from goodness, the scene differs. Angels of judgment stand near, solemn and just, their gaze unflinching. Still, the angel of death shows no scorn, for his task is obedience, not condemnation. He fulfills the divine order with perfect impartiality, for every soul belongs to its maker. When a soul finally lets go of the earthly vessel, a stillness sweeps through creation as if the universe itself acknowledges the transition. The body grows quiet, the eyes lose their light, yet what departs is not extinguished. It moves beyond the limits of flesh into dimensions unseen. The angel of death carries the soul with care, as though holding a fragile ember meant to be returned to its source. To him, every human life is sacred, every departure a moment of divine precision. No soul is too small, no life too insignificant to be handled with reverence. For the living who remain, death often feels cruel and abrupt. Yet from the perspective of the eternal, it is a passage executed in perfect order. The angel of death moves with gentleness, even when the world below weeps in confusion. What appears as tragedy is, in the divine plan, completion. Each life fulfills its appointed time, and when that time ends, the angel acts not as a thief, but as a servant reclaiming what was entrusted. Those who have glimpsed near death often speak of light, of peace, of a presence beyond words. They may not know his name, but they have felt his nearness. For some, it is a warmth that calms every fear. For others, it is a realization too vast to contain. Whether radiant or solemn, the angel of death's task is always sacred. He does not drag the soul, he invites it to return. Resistance fades as divine truth surrounds it, and even the most frightened heart finds stillness. Each transition is a reminder that existence is not confined to what can be seen or touched. The angel of death, unseen yet ever near, guards the journey that all must one day take. His wings, unseen by mortal eyes, carry the weight of divine promise. Though his name stirs fear among the living, his work is among the most compassionate in all creation. For in his hands the soul does not fall, it ascends. Fear of death, has followed humanity since its beginning, a shadow cast by the mind's refusal to accept what the heart already knows. People cling to life as if eternity were a distant dream rather than their true home. Yet death, in divine wisdom, was never meant to be a punishment. It was meant to awaken. The angel of death, often seen as an omen of terror, serves instead as a mirror, reflecting the value of every fleeting moment. His presence is not meant to rob the living of joy, but to remind them that every heartbeat counts. Without the certainty of an ending, life would lose its urgency to love, to forgive, to grow, and to seek what is eternal. Every fear that death stirs within the human heart originates from the illusion of separation. The body fears what the soul already understands, that death is not a void, but a return. The angel of death does not bring despair, but clarity. He stands before humanity as a silent teacher, revealing through his presence that life's fragility is its greatest gift. When people fear him, they are not fearing death itself, but the reflection of their own unpreparedness. Some try to outrun the thought of mortality, burying it beneath distractions, ambitions, and endless pursuits. Yet no matter how far one runs, the truth remains near. The angel of death walks patiently beside every life, waiting for the moment when illusion fades and truth stands revealed. He teaches through absence rather than words, allowing silence to speak louder than any warning. When fear transforms into awareness, a person begins to live with greater depth, more gratitude, more compassion, more sincerity. Those who understand the sacred purpose of death begin to live differently. They see time not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Each sunrise becomes an opportunity, each sunset a reminder that existence is fleeting but meaningful. The angel of death becomes not a specter to avoid, but a silent companion reminding the soul to stay awake, to live each day as if it were the final chapter of an eternal story still being written. Without death, arrogance would reign unchecked. Without the reminder of an ending, the human heart would harden in pride. Death humbles and purifies. It strips away illusion and brings the soul face to face with what truly matters. The angel of death serves the divine purpose of returning balance, ensuring that no life grows detached from its spiritual roots. He comes not to destroy what is beautiful, but to preserve its sacred meaning by guiding it back to its source. Through reflection on mortality, the heart learns compassion. When one realizes how fragile existence is, forgiveness becomes easier, kindness more urgent. The angel of death, though silent, speaks through every loss, every farewell, every tear shed beside a grave. He reminds humanity that love is the only treasure carried beyond the grave, and that bitterness, pride, and hate are weights that cannot pass through eternity's gate. Every moment of fear can be transformed into wisdom when seen through divine perspective. The angel of death, once feared as an end, becomes the guardian of purpose. He walks beside each person, not to frighten them, but to awaken their spirit before their time comes. He whispers through the quiet moments of reflection, through the sorrow that follows loss, and through the realization that every life, no matter how short, fulfills something sacred. When the heart finally understands, fear loses its power. The angel of death no longer appears as a shadow, but as a companion in divine mercy. He does not end life, he completes it. And through his quiet ministry, the living are reminded that to die well, one must live well, to walk in truth, to love without restraint, and to prepare not in fear, but in faith. When the final moment of departure has passed, and the soul has been lifted beyond the reach of mortal breath, a silence unlike any other fills the expanse. It is a silence not of emptiness, but of revelation. Every sound, every thought, Every deed once carried out in the world below now echoes through this stillness with perfect clarity. No word is lost, no action forgotten. The angel of death steps aside, for his task has been fulfilled. What comes next belongs to divine justice, a realm where truth is unfiltered and every veil falls away. Before the soul now stands a light that cannot be escaped, a brilliance that pierces through every memory, every motive, every secret place of the heart. Across that sacred horizon, nothing can hide. The soul finds itself standing before its own life, not as a spectator, but as a participant reliving each moment in divine reflection. It sees not only what was done, but why it was done. Every act of kindness glows with radiance, while every cruelty leaves a shadow that cannot be denied. The scales of eternity are not weighed by human measure. They are balanced by perfect understanding. In this revelation, excuses vanish and self-deception dissolves. The angel of death watches from a distance, his gaze calm and solemn, knowing that judgment is not his to deliver, only to witness. In that place of truth, mercy and justice stand side by side. The soul begins to understand how every opportunity to love, forgive, and serve was part of a greater design. Nothing in life was wasted, not even pain. Every struggle was meant to refine, every failure to awaken. For those who walked in humility and sought grace, this unveiling feels like freedom, the final understanding that nothing was endured in vain. For others, it is a sorrow too deep for words, a recognition of chances refused, of light ignored. Yet even then, divine mercy lingers, offering redemption in ways the human mind cannot grasp. Whispers of judgment do not come as accusations from without, but as realizations from within. The soul becomes its own witness, standing before the measure of eternity with no need for words. What once seemed hidden now stands open in the full awareness of the Creator. The angel of death remains near, not as an accuser, but as a silent guardian of balance, ensuring that every life meets the justice it has earned. His gaze carries neither delight nor grief, only understanding. He knows that this moment defines the soul's eternal direction, a truth that even angels observe with reverence. Every good deed, no matter how small, burns brightly in this light. A single act of compassion outweighs mountains of pride. A prayer whispered in sincerity glows stronger than countless empty words. The scales of divine judgment are unlike any earthly standard. They are woven with mercy, measured by intention, and sustained by truth. The angel of death, having carried countless souls to this threshold, knows that what determines destiny is not how long one lived, but how deeply one loved. For some, the sight of their own truth brings tears that no longer fall as sorrow, but as purification. The pain of recognition becomes the cleansing fire of mercy, burning away all pretense, leaving only what is real. For others, this unveiling comes with resistance, a desperate attempt to deny the very light that now surrounds them. Yet the truth cannot be refused. For divine justice is absolute. No deception survives before the eyes that see all. Still, even in that moment, love remains near, for the Creator's mercy is boundless, reaching even to those who have fallen far. This sacred confrontation between the soul and its life is not punishment, but completion. It is the restoration of divine order, the moment when all confusion is removed and clarity reigns. The angel of death watches each revelation unfold, seeing in every soul the reflection of divine purpose. He understands that no one passes this threshold unchanged. Every encounter with truth transforms, whether it leads to light or to correction. The scales reveal not merely justice, but the wisdom behind creation itself. Long after the soul's judgment is known, the angel of death remains a silent witness to what transpires beyond mortal understanding. He has no part in verdicts, only in delivery. His reverence for divine justice deepens with every soul he carries, for he sees the perfection of a plan far beyond comprehension. Each time he departs from that sacred place, he carries within him the unspoken knowledge that all things, even judgment, are born from love. When a righteous soul reaches the final moments of life, something extraordinary unfolds that few ever glimpse. The air itself seems to change, becoming soft, luminous, almost sacred in its stillness. Pain loses its hold, and fear retreats into silence. The angel of death appears, not as a figure of dread, but as a presence clothed in calm and light. His touch is gentle, his approach serene. To the eyes of the faithful, he carries not the shadow of loss, but the promise of return. Every heartbeat slows, not in despair, but in peace, for the soul senses what awaits, a homecoming beyond measure. Those who have walked in faith, who have lived in love and sought forgiveness, do not face this moment alone. Angels of mercy surround them, radiant and still, their presence filling the space with warmth that no words can capture. The angel of death stands among them as a guide, not a taker. He reaches forth with hands that carry neither pain nor force, but invitation. The soul, weary from the struggles of the world, begins to loosen its grip on the body, feeling itself lifted as though caught in a tide of divine rest. For the righteous, death is not a fall into darkness, but a gentle ascent into everlasting light. The face of the dying often softens in that moment, as if seeing something the living cannot. Many have spoken of glimpses beyond the veil, a radiant presence, a voice calling their name, or the faces of those who went before them. The angel of death moves quietly within these visions, unseen yet felt, ensuring that the passage is smooth, that no fear disturbs the soul's release. For those who lived in harmony with divine will, his presence feels like returning to a long-forgotten peace, a familiarity too profound to describe. When the final breath escapes the body, the soul rises as effortlessly as mist from water. The angel of death holds it with reverence, not as one seizing a possession, but as a guardian, returning a treasure. Every trace of pain is left behind, every wound forgotten. What remains is clarity, purity, and a joy that transcends understanding. The angels surrounding them begin their ascent, carrying the soul upward through layers of light that grow ever brighter. The angel of death follows, watching as the righteous are received with songs of welcome that only heaven can sing. Every act of kindness the soul performed on earth now blooms like light upon its path. Every prayer, every tear shed in faith becomes a jewel of remembrance guiding it forward. The angel of death observes this radiant journey with quiet awe. Though he has seen it countless times, each one feels new, each one sacred. He knows that in this departure, the divine plan is fulfilled once more, and another spirit has come home to its true dwelling. When the soul enters the realm of peace, it is greeted not by fear, but by recognition. Familiar presences surround it, those who once loved and prayed, now radiant with eternal life. The angel of death bows in silent reverence before departing, his task complete. No sorrow follows him, for he knows that what he carried was precious and now rests in glory. His path takes him back to the world of men, where another heart will soon call for his presence, but the memory of this gentle transition remains with him like a sacred echo. For those who witness such a passing, something changes within. They sense that death need not be cruel, that within its mystery lies an unseen tenderness. The righteous do not fade into nothingness. They rise into life more real than any they have known. The angel of death, though unseen, leaves behind peace in the space he departs from. A quiet assurance that what has been lost is not gone, but transformed. Each soul that departs in faith becomes a reminder to the living that goodness is never forgotten, that what is sown in love will always rise in glory. The angel of death continues his silent work, carrying light where others see only shadow, revealing that even in humanity's final breath, grace speaks louder than fear. Not every soul greets the angel of death with peace. For some, the final moment arrives not as a gentle calling, but as a reckoning long postponed. When life has been spent in rebellion against truth, when mercy has been refused again and again, the coming of the angel of death feels different. The air grows heavy, the heart trembles, and the unseen presence that fills the room carries a weight that no words can describe. It is not cruelty that darkens the moment, but consequence, the natural outcome of choices long made. The angel of death arrives with sorrow, not satisfaction, knowing that even in judgment divine order must prevail. When such a soul begins to part from the body, confusion floods its awareness. The familiar world fades, but peace does not follow. Instead, the soul feels drawn into the light it once ignored, yet cannot approach. It senses the nearness of truth, but fears its radiance. The angel of death stands firm, his expression neither harsh nor forgiving, only steady. He does not condemn, he carries out what has been decreed. The struggle of such a soul is not against the angel, but against itself, for its own deeds rise before it like shadows made solid. No word passes from the angel's lips, yet the silence speaks with finality. Around them, the light dims, not in cruelty, but in reflection of the soul's own distance from grace. Angels of judgment stand nearby, their presence vast and solemn. They do not move quickly, for divine justice is deliberate, never rushed. Every moment of resistance is met with truth. Every plea for mercy is weighed by the sincerity of the heart. The angel of death does not interfere, for his role is not to persuade, but to fulfill. For those who lived without remorse, the crossing becomes heavy. The soul feels its own burden, the weight of choices made without conscience. What once seemed powerful, wealth, pride, cruelty, crumbles into nothing. The angel of death feels no hatred, only sorrow, for he knows what could have been. He remembers the mercy once offered, the countless moments when the Creator reached out through love, through warning, through grace. Yet those moments were ignored, and now the consequences unfold. As the soul stands before the unveiled truth, realization strikes deeper than fear. Every opportunity wasted, every heart wounded, every lie told becomes a mirror reflecting back upon itself. The angel of death watches with quiet respect, for even now divine order remains perfect. Justice is not vengeance, it is balance. No pain inflicted goes unaccounted for, no deception remains hidden. The soul begins to see itself not as it believed, but as it truly was. The path awaiting such souls is not chosen by the angel, but by their own rejection of light. They move toward the shadows that resonate with their deeds, drawn by the energy they themselves created. The angel of death does not drag them. He simply allows them to go where they have aligned themselves. His heart, though beyond human emotion, feels a depth of solemn compassion. He knows that even judgment is not eternal separation without hope. Mercy remains, though hidden, waiting for a spark of repentance that only divine love can ignite. For the living, such stories serve as warnings, not condemnations. They remind every soul that the time to seek mercy is now, while breath still fills the lungs and choices can still be changed. The angel of death does not wish for suffering. His task is to carry out truth. He longs for souls to prepare, to awaken, to return willingly before he is ever sent. Each time he stands beside a soul unprepared, he bears the weight of divine sorrow, a sorrow that even angels cannot express. Among all his duties, none grieves him more than this: to watch a soul turn from the light it was created for. Yet even here, his obedience does not falter. He fulfills what must be done, his presence a reminder that divine justice, though firm, is never without compassion. As he departs from such a scene, he carries not triumph, but quiet mourning for what has been lost. And in his silent flight across the worlds, he continues his mission, still hoping that those who live may yet hear the whisper of warning and turn toward grace before their appointed hour arrives. Among all the hosts of heaven, few carry a duty as heavy as the angel of death. Though he moves with divine authority, his journey is marked not by triumph, but by solitude. Across the ages, he has walked through every form of sorrow known to creation, witnessing the breaking of hearts, the cries of those left behind, and the quiet fading of lives that once burned bright. Though created without sin or flaw, his spirit bears the echo of all he has seen, for even in the realm of the eternal, to touch the final moment of every living soul is to bear a weight that only divine strength can endure. He does not question his duty, but within his silence lies a depth of understanding few can imagine, a sorrow not born of rebellion, but of compassion. Countless times he has stood beside mothers as they clutched the lifeless forms of their children, beside warriors lying upon fields, soaked with the final breath of courage, beside the elderly, whose eyes turned toward heaven after years of waiting. He has witnessed the pain of those who could not say goodbye, and the peace of those who met his gaze without fear. Each encounter leaves an imprint, not on his perfection, but on his awareness of what life means to those who must surrender it. Though his form does not change, his essence carries the memory of every tear shed in his presence. He does not forget. Angels do not forget. And within that eternal memory lies a grief that no human heart could bear. Some imagine him as emotionless, a mere executor of divine will. But that is only half the truth. His obedience is pure, yet obedience does not erase understanding. When he touches the dying, he feels their final thoughts, the longing to stay, the regret of words left unsaid, the gratitude for love received. He senses the trembling of every soul that struggles to let go, and though he cannot alter the divine decree, his heart bends toward them in compassion. His hands are steady, but his gaze carries sorrow, for he knows the cost of every departure. When a child dies, the heavens themselves grow still. The angel of death approaches softly, more gently than wind moving through leaves. He feels the weight of innocence departing too soon, yet he knows that the child is returning to perfect love, untouched by corruption or pain. Even then, he weeps, not because of doubt, but because he understands the ache of those left behind. His tears fall not to the earth, but into eternity itself, where they become silent prayers for those who mourn. Each tear is a whisper of empathy, proof that even the most feared messenger carries a heart that grieves with creation. Among his countless journeys, there are moments when he pauses, not out of hesitation, but reflection. He stands beside the resting places of the righteous, where peace reigns and gratitude fills the air, and he remembers the mercy that makes his task bearable. Then he walks among the places of the wicked, where the shadows cling thick and heavy, and he feels the sharp sorrow of lost potential, of light that could have shone but chose darkness instead. He is not untouched by what he witnesses, for every soul tells a story of choices, of love given or denied, of faith accepted or refused. Each time he returns to the presence of God, he does so in silence. No words are needed between them, for the Creator knows every thought that passes through the angel's being. His tears are not reprimanded, they are understood. To weep is not to defy, but to feel, and in feeling, he honors the sacredness of the life he takes. His sorrow becomes part of the divine mercy that sustains all creation. Through him, the Almighty's compassion finds expression even in death, reminding the living that love is present even in their darkest hour. Many have felt his nearness without understanding what it meant. In the final moments before death, when the world begins to blur and time seems to dissolve, some sense a presence both sorrowful and kind. It is him standing near, not eager to take but ready to guide. He moves without noise, yet the soul feels his empathy like a soft light against its fear. He has no voice to speak comfort, yet his stillness conveys it. Every trembling heart that releases its final breath does so in the company of one who weeps for what must be, even as he fulfills what has been written. His tears are not weakness, they are reflection. Through them, the divine teaches that power without compassion is incomplete. His sorrow sanctifies his strength, and his tears become the bridge between heaven's justice and heaven's mercy. Though he remains unseen to human eyes, his empathy lingers in the quiet after loss, in the strange peace that follows the deepest grief, in the whisper that reminds the broken-hearted that love does not die with the body. The angel of death weeps not because life ends, but because every ending is sacred, and every soul he carries bears the image of the Creator he serves. From the beginning of creation, humanity has sought meaning in life while avoiding the shadow that follows it. Yet the angel of death, though feared, carries within his silent presence the wisdom that few dare to learn while they still breathe. His purpose extends beyond the moment of departure. He teaches through his existence. Every appearance, every whisper of mortality serves as a reminder that life's value is found not in its length, but in its depth. Those who learn to see through his eyes discover truths that cannot be found in comfort or abundance, but only in awareness of life's fleeting nature. When one contemplates mortality without fear, the heart begins to change. Pride softens, greed loosens its grip, and love becomes urgent. The angel of death teaches that each sunrise is a borrowed blessing and each heartbeat a promise renewed. His silent message urges the living to forgive quickly, to speak kindness while there is time, to cherish the presence of those they love. He reminds that the greatest tragedy is not death itself, but a life unlived. A life spent in resentment, neglect, or indifference to what truly matters. In his presence, all masks fall away. Titles, wealth, and accomplishments lose meaning, for none of these pass through eternity's gate. What remains are the moments of truth, the mercy shown to others, the compassion offered in silence, the sacrifices made without recognition. The angel of death becomes a mirror reflecting what the living too often forget, that love is the only currency of eternity. Through his silent ministry, he calls each heart to invest not in possessions, but in goodness, not in pride, but in humility, not in fear, but in faith. Those who have brushed close to death and returned often speak of a new clarity, as though they have seen the world for the first time. It is as if the angel's presence left behind a residue of truth, a reminder that every moment carries eternal weight. They live differently afterward, more grateful, more aware, more alive. They no longer measure days by success or failure, but by the peace within their soul. Such transformation is his unseen work, the quiet gift he leaves behind for those who still walk among the living. When grief descends upon a family, when a loved one is taken, the first response is often anger or disbelief. Yet within that sorrow lies an invitation, a chance to see through eternal eyes. The angel of death, though the bearer of separation, also opens the door to deeper understanding. He teaches that love's true measure is not found in how long it lasts on earth, but in how it endures beyond it. Every loss becomes a lesson in surrender, every tear a prayer that cleanses the heart from illusion. Through his work, humanity learns to value presence over possessions, sincerity over status, and faith over fear. He reveals the fragility of time not to inspire despair, but to awaken urgency, to make people aware of what truly matters before their final hour arrives. His message, though wordless, echoes through every moment of silence that follows death. Live with purpose. Love without hesitation. Forgive without delay. For the day will come when time ceases, and only what was genuine will remain. Those who walk in wisdom often feel no terror at the mention of death. They have learned from the angel's example that life and death are not enemies but companions, each completing the other. To live well is to prepare well, and to prepare well is to live with the awareness that eternity is not distant. It begins now, within every act of goodness, every thought of compassion, every surrender to grace. The angel of death becomes not a shadow to flee from, but a teacher whose lessons illuminate the path to meaning. Through his unwavering obedience, he teaches humility. Through his tears, he teaches empathy. Through his silence, he teaches reverence for the mystery of existence. Humanity often fears him because they do not understand him. Yet within his purpose lies the greatest truth of all, that to live without awareness of death is to live half asleep. He calls each soul to awaken, to see that every day is sacred, every encounter a divine opportunity, every breath a reminder of the eternity waiting beyond the veil. From the first moment creation stirred, death walked silently beside life, fulfilling the command spoken before time began. Yet from the same eternal voice that appointed death also came the promise that one day this shadow would fade forever. The angel of death knows this promise well. It is written within the deepest parts of his being. He understands that his task, though eternal in human eyes, is temporary in divine design. A day is coming, a day of glory and light, when his duty will be complete, and death itself will bow before life everlasting. Across the ages, prophets have spoken of this moment, when the trumpet will sound and the heavens will shake, when graves will open and what was lost will be restored. The angel of death will stand among countless souls as witness to the greatest revelation creation has ever known. The very power he has carried with solemn reverence will dissolve before the majesty of God's final decree. No more separations, no more tears, no more sorrow. The gates between worlds will open not for departure, but for reunion. Every soul, righteous and redeemed, will rise, clothed in light that never fades. For him, this moment will be unlike any he has known. For countless millennia, he has been the silent keeper of finality, the one who guided souls through darkness into divine presence. But on that day, he will feel the weight of his mission lifted. The authority that once rested in his hands will be returned to the Creator, and his purpose will be fulfilled with divine joy. He will no longer walk between life and eternity, for eternity will embrace life in full unity. Imagine the heavens trembling with sound as the final trumpet echoes across existence. The light of God's glory will pierce through every shadow, reclaiming what was separated by sin and restoring harmony to all creation. The angel of death, once the guardian of endings, will watch as the last remnants of mortality dissolve in divine radiance. Every cry he has ever heard, every sorrow he has witnessed, will be answered in that moment of perfect restoration. His tears will no longer fall from sorrow but from awe. When all souls rise, they will remember the one who carried them across the threshold of mortality. He will not be feared but honored, for his obedience kept the divine order until the final promise was fulfilled. Though he walked in shadows, he served the light. Though he bore sorrow, he upheld mercy. The moment his work is completed, the heavens will resound in praise, not for the end of death alone, but for the perfection of God's plan that turns even loss into victory. No more separation between the living and the departed. No more fear of time running out. The angel of death will lay his mantle at the feet of the Almighty, and for the first time he will rest. What once was a symbol of finality will become a testimony of completion. The world will be reborn in glory, and the angel who once carried sorrow will behold creation renewed, pure, and eternal. Every human soul that ever lived will understand what the angel of death has always known, that death was never the enemy, only a passage. When the trumpet sounds and the promise is fulfilled, the passage will no longer be needed. Eternity will dwell with creation, and love will reign without boundary. The angel of death will no longer weep, for his tears will be wiped away by the very hand that sent him. His mission, sacred and solemn, will find its purpose completed in the joy of endless life. When that day comes, every shadow will turn to light, every silence will transform into song, and every tear will shine like crystal in the radiance of divine presence. The angel of death will lift his eyes for the last time as a servant of endings, and behold the dawn of eternity, where death dies and life lives forever. Thank you for listening to this message and for allowing these words to guide your reflection. If this story touched your heart, remember to subscribe to the channel so you never miss new messages of faith and inspiration. Like this video if it moved you, and share it with those you care about. Someone you love may need to hear this today. And please leave a comment below sharing your thoughts, your feelings, or your personal experiences with faith, life, and hope. Your voice helps spread light into the world, and together we can remind others that even in the shadow of death there is always the promise of life eternal.